Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
We have been given a gift by God today to usher in a new dynasty.
Now you get RFK Jr.
Don't you want a president who's going to make America healthy again?
You get Tulsi Gabbard.
Putting our country in a continual state of war.
You get Elon Musk and you get J.D. Vance.
A hell of a way to start the next 4 years.
The right-wing Avengers.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
Department of Defense under Donald Trump will achieve peace through strength.
Shut down the FBI Hoover building on day one.
The rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
The golden age of America has most definitely begun.
Begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility at Guantanamo Bay.
We're getting the dirtbags off these streets.
There's one guy who can fix this shit, and it's Donald Trump.
What's storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Thunder breaks, the ground is shaking from the weight. Voices crying in the night, but freedom burns a steady light. We hold the line, we won't let go. Through every trial, the truth will show. This is your daily dose. Open your eyes, see through the smoke, see through the lies. Rise from the silence, hear freedom's call. One voice, one people, united we stand tall.
Hearts awaken, chains undone. A new day breaks, the dawn has come. Through every battle, through the flame, our faith in God remains the same. The storm may rage, the night may fall, but hope will answer stronger than all.
This is your daily dose. Courage and fire, lifting the weak, lifting us higher. Not by the sword, but the truth we recall. Where we go, we go. We've seen the darkness try to reign. We felt the sorrow, we've known the pain. But every trial has forged the steel. In God we trust, His plan is real.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Friday. I hope everybody is doing well and had a fantastic weekend and a great Monday, because I was not with you. Oh, man. So, quick question. Can you hear me? I'm just checking. I set my equipment back up today, so I just want to verify that you guys are all good. Man, what a great weekend. I went to Colorado, and we did a Badlands Mountain States meetup. Had about 50 people out there. It was a great turnout, and met a lot of great patriots, a lot of people from the Red Pill Project, a lot of people over there from Badlands. It was a hell of a time. So great time over there in Denver. And then what else did we have going on? We had Q After Hours on Sunday night. No Daily Dose last night because I was driving. Throughout the country. I love driving across the country, by the way. It's always a good time driving across the country. And I've been paying attention to what's happening in the world. And so tonight's conversation, there's not much news going on. We got a few different things to talk about, but hopefully we can string this together and help it make sense. Make it make sense, Josh. Make it make sense. I get that a lot. People ask me, Josh, can you just make it make sense? And I try to help people make it make sense. And, you know, right now there's my perspective, my kind of 40,000 foot view perspective is that buckle up, Buttercup, things are about to get bumpy. And we've known this for a while. A lot of things that we've been talking about over the context of the last 6 months, 12 months are now coming into fruition. One of the things, the UFO UAP stuff, another one of the milestones that I pointed out in the various different, so I had 3 different phases. And in the first phase, there's different tiers. And one of those things actually happened today. So that's pretty cool. Kind of shows you that we're on schedule with what's coming and what's going on with that. And just kind of validates to me that we're kind of right on what's happening there. But we did get an indication from Trump yesterday. You know, he was, Sunday. I believe it was definitely Sunday. We did get an indication from Trump on Sunday, and I'm going to pull this one up real quick because I think that this is important to understand. Trump says Christopher Macchio, who's the opera singer, the great opera singer, was amazing at the World Cup today. He took the house down, and I love that phraseology that Trump uses there. And we got a timestamp of 9:38, and that is battle stations ready. Where we go, one, we go all. And for anybody who doesn't know, battle stations in the Navy and in various other parts of the military, battle stations means get ready. The war is about to begin. We're about to head into battle. And I agree with that with everything that I'm seeing right now and how it's all coming about and unfolding. John Solomon talking about the intelligence. By the way, the intelligence that we've seen come out so far about Trump's speech last week, the China's deep state and how they interfered with the 2020 election, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And I want people to truly understand that we have millions of documents that need to be released pertaining to this information. And then you also have ongoing criminal investigations. So one of the key parts there is that with the ongoing criminal investigations, you're not going to see the immediately declassification pertaining to documents that are incriminating with people who are potentially going to be prosecuted. And I think that's really important to understand. And I think that that's one of the reasons why they did this with just the China component in it, because it sets up the stage for a national emergency declared prior to the midterm elections. And it really didn't even matter when it came out, but showing that the voter rolls were being compromised is a huge step towards that national emergency and actually brings about the legal predicate for that to occur. So we're paying attention to all these other documents that are coming out. But I wanted to say that is the most important, because right now I think Trump has 2 primary focuses that are going on. Number one is let his team do everything. Like you have Joe DeGeneva, Todd Blanche, let them do their thing. Let D&I Pulte do his thing. Let Pete Hegseth do his thing. But the 2 biggest things that Trump has on his plate right now, and I know he said contrary to that today, is the midterm elections. And then the second one is going to be the Iran war. And I think that the Iran war will wrap up here very fast. And when I say very fast, I mean, one day we're going to be striking Iran, and the next day it's going to be over, and it's going to be long-lasting peace. It's going to happen literally that fast. And I think that that's coming within days, if not a week or so, that we're out on that. And there's a reason why that is, and it has nothing to do with the context of expanding the war further. I know you get all the war hawks out there. You get all the pro-Israel people like Trump is going to do this a 20-year war and all this stuff. No. I'm telling you, I think that within 2 weeks, this is going to be settled over and done. And you will potentially hear within 3 to 4 months, Iran and the Abraham Accords discussions will begin happening. I shit you not. So that is coming. I think that's one of Trump's primary concerns right now is Middle East peace. That's why he met with the Prime Minister of Lebanon today. And more on that is going to come. And I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit of why that is so critically important. Then the next part of that is the midterm elections. And really what Donald Trump needs to do to prepare for the midterm elections is just wait. I mean, we are too early right now. You got to wait till about mid to late August, early September timeframe, and that's when the booms and the rockets' red glare are going to begin to happen coming down on the midterm elections. For a national emergency, would probably see that somewhere around the time of October timeframe with various different declassification of evidence. I think that August, mid-August to late August to early September is a time from that. Potential indictments coming from Joe Geneva. We're going to talk about that here in a little bit. But let's listen to John Solomon right here on what he was talking about with the Chinese intelligence that came out, or the intelligence about China that came out.
I'm going to tell you today, under the definition of the intelligence community's the definition of election interference, President Trump, for the first time, proved that China interfered in the 2020 election. Now, it wasn't in the 2020 assessments. That was part of his story. But let me read it to you. Page 3 of the October 16, 2020 NIC report does something that the intelligence community seldom does. It gives us the actual definition for election interference. By the way, a lot of the boobs in the media think that influence is a lesser charge and interference is a more serious charge. It's the other way around. Interference is only a part of election influence, which the intelligence community considers more serious. But I'm going to read you the definition because it's the first time in my 40 years in reporting I saw the intelligence community define it this way. Quote, election interference is a subset of election influence targeted at the technical aspects of the election, including voter registration. Just keep that pinned, casting and counting of ballots and reporting of results. The president, for the first time, provided evidence that China was targeting and successfully acquiring illicitly voter registration. The president actually proved election interference by this definition on Thursday. And David's right. In 2020, all those buddies at Langley and NSA, they suppressed this from the report. Had this been in the report, they would have had to admit it. But Donald Trump put the evidence that was missing from those 2020 reports. David Ignatius has no response for it because he had to ignore this. He had to go on Morning Joe and ignore that level of detail to make his snow job case this morning.
Okay. So, no, I don't agree everything John Solomon says, but that is an absolute bombshell. When we start to look at this, there's two definitions that we have to look at. Election influence, and that includes events and covert influence activities of foreign governments or actors serving as agents of or on behalf of foreign governments intended to affect directly or indirectly a U.S. election, including candidates, political parties, voters, and their preferences or political processes. And then the next one is election interference, is a subset of election influence targeted at technical aspects of the election, including voter registration, casting, and counting of ballots and the election results. Huge, because we had both election influence and election interference in the 2020 election. Why is that important? Donald Trump, with the latest tranche of information pertaining to the declassification of how China interfered with the 2020 election, absolutely validates and proves it. Not only that, it shows conclusively that the U.S. intelligence agencies colluded, came together, conspired against President Trump, withholding this pertinent information from him. Now, I want to bring this into context. It's November 12th, 2020. The election was just stolen. There's a lot of controversy. The U.S. intelligence community had this information at that time. If President Trump had been briefed upon this information, brought this information forth, declassified it in November of 2020, it would have been very difficult for states and courts to say that that was a fair and legitimate election. That's the problem. So are people going to get indicted over this? I think we're going to see indictments over this. We're going to see it at that mid-level management level. A lot of these people, Sherry Flores and these types of people that will be indicted over this. But we know that this is much larger. Donald Trump, during his speech, he mentioned one important part, and this was he talked about the 2018 midterms. He said they stole the 2018 midterms, and then he went into 2019, and he talked about how the 2019 is when the influence campaigns began, where they were paying U.S. mainstream media journalists, and this was China. So you have to take that into consideration, because going back into here, listen to this definition. Election influence includes the overt and covert influence activities of foreign governments or actors serving as aspects or on behalf of foreign governments intended to affect directly or indirectly a U.S. election, including candidates, political parties, voters, or their preferences or political processes. Now, why is that important? Because the mainstream media came out against Donald Trump multiple different times prior to the 2020 election. What we're finding out is that majority of those articles, whether opinion pieces or legitimate news being covered, being claimed as real and factual, was sponsored and paid for by China. That's election interference. That's election influence, which means that we have the illegitimacy of the 2020 election already established right now, without even going forth into how the NGOs interacted with various different organizations on the ground to sign people up, to ballot harvest, to get copies of different ballots and send them out to 36 ballots to one address, have various different criminal organizations fill these out and then hand them into Mark Zuckerberg's ballot boxes. Like, we're not even into that part yet. So this is pretty huge, because number one is it brings about the legal framework where Trump can declare a national emergency on election infrastructure and integrity because of what China did by stealing over 230 million voting records of American voting. Now, there's someone out there that's on the left, they're like, yeah, but that's all public information. No, dumbass. The information that was stolen actually was a two-part position of how they did it. From what I gather is China went out there, requested all the public information. They got all the public information, and they used the public information to search for the actual databases and hack the private information, the addresses, driver's license numbers, and everything like that. Why does that matter? Because you can spoof citizen information. You can spoof ballots to various different addresses that might not be registered a person. You can find out that a person moved from one state to another, but you can still put them active on the voter roll and have a ballot sent there. And this is how they accumulated the mass amount of ballots to overthrow the 2020 election. So really, really interesting right there with what John Solomon was saying. Next, we have New Jersey Governor Mike Sherrill says a software glitch in the state's motor vehicle system mistakenly registered about 6,600 non-U.S. citizens to vote when they applied for driver's licenses in the state ID cards. According to Sherrill, the applicants correctly indicated they were not U.S. citizens, but the system incorrectly recorded them as citizens. Mickey Sherrill, not Mike Sherrill. But that's interesting. The software glitches. I mean, in 2026, when we have immense, expensive, amazing software, it still glitches on that one critical component that just registers people who are illegal aliens as registered voters. But now, back up. It's a software glitch, right? It's not a software glitch. It's part of the system. That's why they planned it. This is one of the reasons why all the blue states, all the blue major cities, they have lobbied, they have positioned, and they have pressed to get illegal immigrants driver's licenses. Because once they have a driver's license, and by the way, there's like no core study really needed to get a driver's license through illegal immigrants. Person like me moves to a new state, I got to go take a driver's test, a road test, to do all these different things. Person comes from Somalia, here you go, he's a driver's license. Why? Because they immediately register them to vote. So, we're talking about Trump today putting out this National Intelligence Council briefing, this assessment. This is one part of multiple parts of what we've been talking about over the past few days. This is what John Sullivan was reading from when he talked about it. We go in here, and this really doesn't indicate within the executive summary election fraud or interference. It's kind of a baseline summarization. But let me say this. Now let's declass the report on foreign and domestic NGOs and their financing of organizations that ran ballot harvesting schemes and the funneling of money to criminal organizations that filled out tens of thousands of fake ballots that were eventually counted as legitimate. Because that's where this should all lead to. I think that we can all understand that. That's where this should lead to. See, we're starting at the upper level, nation state level, and then we're moving our way down to what happened on the ground. Now, one of the reasons I think, one of the reasons I think that they're not releasing the information pertaining to NGOs at this moment is simply because a lot of these NGOs or the players involved in these NGOs are under criminal investigation through grand juries already. We already know of one of them, and that is Neville Roy Singham, and he is under federal grand jury subpoena out of New York. And I think that's for something else, but when we start to look at racketeering, RICO, we start looking at the grand conspiracy, this begins to make more sense that these NGOs and, Weiss and Soros and Singham and all of these guys, they're part of an integrated network, a socialist, communist, global network that funds things through various different social organizations through NGOs. And they fund massive amounts of ground level organizations that also involve within criminality. And that was one of the methodologies primarily used in the 2018 midterms and within the 2020 election. So I love this. Pete Santilli putting out what me and Alpha said last week. President Trump is not punishing China. You ready for this? Because China was assisting the U.S. investigations. The source of information of the tens of thousands of licenses and fake Joe Biden ballots came from the PRC government officials. In the emails released by Chuck Grassley in July 2025, FBI field office indicated that the source regarding the fake licenses and ballots was an unidentified PRC government official. The DMC acting DRO, Albany, also indicated that he was obtaining approval from the OGC, the Office of General Counsel, and the LEGAT, the legal attaché in Beijing, prior to dissemination regarding Nikki Flores calling the IIR Intelligence Information Report. So this is interesting because we got to ask ourselves, who was this informant in New York City, Albany field office? I can tell you who introduced the informant to the FBI in 2020. His name's Miles Gao, and he's now in prison for a long time. Kind of crazy, isn't that? But that's for other reasons. But yes, Miles Gao is one of the people that helped to organize all of that. But the Chinese government is working with the Trump administration on this. And I think that that's really an important part of this because it's showing that, China is probably saying, oh, we didn't do that. No, that was some rogue cyber group, right? It's okay. We do the same thing to their country. So it's kind of like a wash. But at the end of the day, it gives the predicate, the legal predicate for Donald Trump to bring about a national emergency on election integrity and infrastructure. Now, why is that so important? If we lose the midterm elections, it's basically over, guys. It's going to be a very, very hard time to try to get our country back after that. If we win the midterm elections, we have 2 more years to begin the process of implementation of the foundation of what Donald Trump is trying to do to this world. And it's so important to what he is trying to change because if he's able to implement more of this framework globally and nationally, the United States is going to be set on a trajectory to, even if we have a Democrat president in 2028, that they cannot stop what is coming because everything moves forth with the motion already set in process by Donald Trump, if that makes sense. As well is you have 2 more years to basically criminally investigate all these organizations to begin to take them down. And I think a lot of that, by the way, is going to happen towards the end of Donald Trump's presidency. But when we start talking about Joe DeGeneva and what he's doing in the Southern District of Florida at that grand jury, I think we're going to see movement on that potentially. So I say that potentially. From what I'm hearing, and this is from some really good sources that I got to bring up my calendar, the first week in August, the 3rd to the 7th, I think that we're going to hear massive amounts of information coming out pertaining to Joe DeGeneva and the investigation that's going in the Southern District of Florida. And that potentially is indictments coming out with names that you've heard multiple different times before: James Clapper, John Brennan, Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Rosenstein, these types of people. low-hanging middle management fruit, not the upper echelon. Well, Brennan and Clapper upper echelon, but Obama potentially. And we just saw John Solomon talking about this the other day, that right now, Barack Obama, if brought in, cannot plead the fifth. He has to tell the truth. And if he lies under oath about any of the stuff that he's asked about within this grand jury testimony, because he's got inferred immunity because he was president at the time. But that means that he can't lie. And if it's proven that he lied, then he becomes criminally liable. And that is the trap I think is being set for Barack Obama. But when we start talking about all of that coming down, the question is timing. Do you play that hand prior to the midterm elections? To some of the country, that's going to look like Trump is weaponizing the DOJ against the deep state, against the Democrats, and going after them. That could potentially hurt the midterm elections. Or do you hold off indictments till after the midterm elections and then just follow it through from that point forth? My thoughts is, if you have the evidence trail, if you have the substantiation of the evidence of declassification of documents that show without a reason, with zero doubt whatsoever that this was criminal, that these people were the criminals, and that you can show a lineation of conspiracy. If you can do that, and you can explain that to the American people really easily, I think it'll happen before the midterms. If it's more complex of a trial, if it's more complex of legal cases, I think it'll wait till the midterms. My guess, though, is the first tranche you're going to actually see come about the first week of August with certain indictments. And they're going to be kind of low-hanging fruit. Maybe not John Brennan, James Clapper, but it'll be other people from Russia, FISAgate that you're going to see within that. Really interesting here. Bill Malugan reporting here. Senator Rand Paul, the chairman of the Senate Homeland Security Committee, just released internal federal documents which he says shows that the FBI intervened and stopped Customs and Border Patrol from searching and questioning Peter Daszak upon his return to the U.S. from China at the JFK airport in 2021 during the WHO investigation into the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic. Whoa. The documents show that the Customs and Border Patrol's National Targeting Center had flagged Daszak, president of EcoHealth Alliance, as an extremely high person of interest ahead of his arrival in the U.S., citing his more than 15 years of collaboration with the Wuhan Institute of Virology and his role as a principal investigator in the National Institute of Health grant funding back coronavirus research in China. And that much of the funding Daszak receives is put towards gain-of-function research. The documents revealed that the CBP had a series of questions they planned to ask Daszak when he landed, and were going to search his media until they were told to stand down by the FBI. We need to know who those FBI agents were, who in the FBI, Christopher Wray or whoever, ordered the stand down order, and why. Now, you go back. EcoHealth Alliance, 2014, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, doing gain-of-function research for the Obama administration. Obama puts out an executive order suspending all gain-of-function research during that time. That research moves to Wuhan Institute of Virology in China through an NIAID grant of about $2 to $3 million, sponsored by Anthony Fauci, Ralph Barrick, Peter Daszak, over there doing and continuing this research. Over 257 various different strains of coronavirus, which at the time in 2014 were not infectious to human beings, but in 2018, 2019, they had massive breakthroughs with CRISPR-Cas9 technology by adding 13 mutations to various different RNA molecules on the coronavirus itself, which was highlighted in a March 2020 Nature's article claiming that this was natural mutation and not synthetic because of the mutation of the 13 RNA molecules, when in actuality, 13 RNA molecules to mutate that fast over time would take billions of years. So it's funny because I did a show on it in March of 2020, and that's exactly what I was saying back then at that time. But anyways, Peter Daszak, Ralph Barrick, these are the guys that are behind all of this, working with the Welcome Leap Foundation over in Switzerland. And if you don't know who the Welcome Leap Foundation, that's headed by Regina George, the former head of Google Warehouse 8, of the former head of DARPA. Not only that, is they're directly integrated into networks with Epstein and various other global elites, including the World Economic Forum and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Now, why does this make a lot of sense? Because in October 2021, and I believe that everybody involved in this event should be investigated as well, you had Event 201. Event 201 was a global exercise hosted by Johns Hopkins University, sponsored by Wellcome Leaf Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and the World Health Organization, that basically claimed through a global exercise that a novel coronavirus that never before had ever infected humanity, somehow a zoological virus now crosses that barrier and affects humanity out of a wet market in Brazil. By the way, there's a wet market in China, and infects the world, causing millions upon millions of deaths and a pandemic to where a mRNA vaccine would have to be developed very, 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 very fast and then spread throughout the world. Before this, people like George Soros, Bill Gates, they took billions of dollars of investment capital, put it into various different biotech companies, including biotech companies that did detection and analysis on zoological viruses. I mean, just come on. How fucking coincidental does it need to be? These people need to be investigated because this was planned. Why does the FBI tell them to stand down? Because they knew that Peter Daszak was going to incriminate himself if he was captured at the border. This also then pertains to everything that Trump was talking about with 2018, 2019, because the 2018 midterms were stolen specifically so that the implementation of the change in voter laws could occur for mail-in ballots to be the primary method for voting in the 2020 election. In 2018, we didn't know about a bioweapon that was going to be used, but in 2020 became apparent. And what was it? It was a Secretary of State's that controlled the state elections, and it was the attorney generals who approved the changes for mail-in ballots. Well, that's interesting because those are both of the candidates that were primarily funded by George Soros and various other organizations in the 2018 midterm elections. Now, what's interesting about those two decision-making processes that happened at the state level is that a year later, the majority of the Supreme Courts in those states sided with the people, stating that only the state assemblies, the state congresses, have the ability to change the laws, and the Secretary of State and the Attorney General don't have that ability, which means that mail-in ballots, the massive amounts of mail-in ballots in those states, even those during a national emergency, were unlawful, but they let it slide for the 2020 election. In other words, the 2020 election needs to happen all over again. And the 2020 election, COVID-19, the 2018 midterms, this is only the tip of the iceberg of what we're talking about. And trust me, when Trump puts out Nessun Dorma, he's not going to rug pull us on that. He's not going to rug pull his revenge. I think the majority of it, Clinton, Obama, that level, the globalist Soros, I think that happens after the midterms. I think what they're actually doing is they have probably FISA warrants, and they probably have various intelligence agencies watching the midterm elections, watching the funding mechanisms behind the midterm elections, watching these various different states and their elections and how they're being conducted. Because wouldn't it be great to prove to the whole world in the middle of election night of how they're stealing it? I think that'd be pretty crazy. I think we could be set up for something like that particularly. All right, I got to wet my whistle here. All right, a few different things here. We're going to transition into Iran and a few other things here. I got to get some updates out. Number one, in about an hour from now, DEFCON 0 on Badlands Media. That is over on Rumble and YouTube. You can watch it over there or on X. But DEFCON 0, I'll be heading out of there at about an hour over there. So that's tonight. Tomorrow night, the OG show is going to be tomorrow night. Put that out there. OG show tomorrow night. Not Thursday. Thursday, I'm leaving for the camping trip. So Thursday night, I'm going to try to record a show earlier, or I will go live earlier in the day. So there will be a Daily Dose on Thursday. Pay attention. It's going to be earlier. OG show is tomorrow night after the Daily Dose. Should be, well, actually, nope, shit. Sorry. I'll try to do a Daily Dose tomorrow early. My son's got a football scrimmage that I'm going to. So I'm going to go watch my son play football in the evening. So I will try to do the Daily Dose earlier in the day. If I record it, I will publish. I'll put it out at the regular time. But we'll try to get the Daily Dose out earlier tomorrow. So keep attention to that because we have to get these shows out there. Really critically important time right now. But the OG show will be tomorrow night. So that means no Q&A tomorrow night. Q&A is Friday night live from the campsite. So if you're a premium member, you can join in that Q&A that'll be live from the campsite. I'm going to bring a big monitor. I'm going to have it all up on the big monitor. We'll have a little stage. We'll have everybody at the campsite all set up, and we'll be drinking and having fun, probably singing karaoke, and you guys can ask questions and hang out with us. But that'll be Friday night. And then camping trip this weekend, Eureka, Missouri. Hope you guys can come out and join us. If you want the information on that, just head over to redpills.tv, redpills.tv, and there's information on our camping trip directly over there. Eureka, Missouri, how you can sign up for it. For everybody going and attending the camping trip, tomorrow I will be sending out an email. It'll have the address and all that good stuff. What we got going on. There is a, he's going to kill me if I didn't say anything. They're going to be doing a float trip down the river on Saturday morning. So if people are interested in that, I will get you over to Joey, who's going to be signing everybody up and getting that taken care of. We have dinner hosted both nights, Friday and Saturday night. Friday night, Joey is going to be hosting a bunch of food from pulled pork, chicken quarters, and all of this other stuff. And so for everybody out there for the camping trip, we'll have the buns and all the various different sauces and everything like that for you then. Saturday, and I want to make sure that I get everything right, Saturday, we have another that is Closty's Kitchen. Closty's Kitchen is going to be bringing their food truck in, and they're big fans of the Red Pill Project. And Closty's Kitchen is going to be hosting dinner for the camping trip on Saturday night, and so that'd be between like 4 to 6 p.m. That's gonna be phenomenal, and smash burgers and all different types of stuff. And for anybody out there who's wondering and wants to maybe say a thank you to Closty's Chicken or go check them out, they do catering in the local area of that area of Eureka, St. Louis. But they just opened up a Closty's Chicken, KLAUSTIS Kitchen, KITCHEN.com. Again, that's KLAUSTIS, or sorry, KLAUSTIS, KITCHEN.com. And they are sponsoring a dinner there. And Brad, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you guys, Brad, Cole, and Carla over there. You guys are phenomenal. Thank you so much for hosting that for us. And it's not really camping, Susan. Susan, you can stay in that hotel. Just come down, get a hotel room, drive down there every day and hang out with us. It's really that easy. All right, we got one thing, I got to run an ad real quick from Rumble, so you guys stay here. But then right after that, I'm bringing Gabe in for about 10 to 15 minutes. I got to talk to Gabe. I haven't talked to Gabe in a week, so we're going to talk to Gabe right after that. So hang around. We'll be right back here. We hear a lot about crypto, but here's the part most people miss. Crypto was created so you could actually own and control money. After the 2008 financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed as an alternative to banks. So instead of banks holding your money, delaying transfers, and limiting access, you are in control. If you've ever had to wait for a transfer to clear, you felt that problem. Now, fast forward today, everyone's heard of crypto, but getting started still feels complicated. That's exactly why I use Rumble Wallet. It takes all that complexity and makes it simple. Choose what you want: Bitcoin, dollar-backed stablecoins, or even digital gold backed by real gold. No complicated setup. It connects with MoonPay, so you can use your credit card or debit card and bank and be up and running in minutes. Once you're set up, you can even support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. Scan the QR code on Rumble or click the link in the description and download the Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, tap buy, and you're in the game. In just a few minutes, you can go from hearing about crypto to actually owning some. Now, here's my thoughts, guys. Actually go down and download this. If you're on other channels, go to the Rumble page, and you're going to see this ad over there. I want you to click on that, open it up in your wallet, whether it's Android or iPhone, and download the Rumble wallet. And I want you to get started with this because we're about to have some big things happen in the crypto world, and you're going to want that wallet, and you're going to be wanting to get involved. Okay? So if you can do that, and it's free to download the wallet. Just do it. And then, one of my good buddies here. Gabe, I missed you in Colorado, dude.
Yeah, no, we should have got together. I didn't know you were out here, but that's awesome, man. Thanks for doing such great work, keeping everybody up to date. The voting thing is about as high a priority as we give, with the future of America. So, man, maybe they'll just crush up all those voting machines. I
think we might be on paper ballots at the midterm elections. I honestly think that's the way they're going to do this. They're just going to move that paper ballots. You have to go to your voting precinct. You're going to fill out a paper ballot, and you only have a time frame to vote from midnight to 12 a.m. Midnight to midnight.
Yeah, that's bad. I mean, when you see the people talk about the voting machines, it's like, they don't want to give them up. I mean, those things are like sacred to these people,
Well, and it makes no sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just think about this, it takes you roughly, 3 minutes to run through a Scantron? Checkbox, checkbox, checkbox. You put it in a mechanical machine, not digitized mechanical machine that counts it all.
Yep.
And you're good. That's it. It's done.
That's it.
Now you go to vote in a machine. You got to go. You got to register. You got to get your card. You got to wait in line. You go into the line. You go into the booth. You select your candidates. It prints something out, and it's just a QR code on a paper. Then you have to go and then you submit that into a blank box, of which then they later run that through a tabulator. That tabulator then gets uploaded to the national. Like, what the fuck are we doing? This is blockchain technology 101, people.
No doubt. I mean, no doubt. So, but thanks for keeping everybody up on that. That's so critical. And so many other things you talk about, and we've talked about them a lot, but I know we want to talk about Good Brew, and the sponsoring your show is always a wonderful thing that we do. And we have so many of your listeners who reorder and order over again, and we get all these great testimonials. We still have the 4th of July special going. So that's both the, buy a large and get a free small, or get 2 larges, and use Repill at for an additional discount. Don't forget to do that. You get the 2 larges, and we still have the tumblers. We'll be doing these tumblers for a while, and we've improved on the tumbler a little bit. The guys, they're priming these now so that they're a little more durable, but you still got to be gentle with them. But hopefully they'll be a little more durable now because they're priming them. So Good Brew, I think your audience grows so much, so we probably should just kind of go over what Good Brew is one time every now and then. So Good Brew is a prebiotic and a probiotic. Prebiotic fiber is what feeds the gut microbiome, and this is a critical thing. It's not just a small side thing to your health. This is a primary aspect of human health, is the gut microbiome. Think of your gut microbiome like another organ of your body. There's really critical aspects of our health that our bodies do not do. We do not have the genes for anymore to do many of these very important things that the gut microbiome does. And so Good Brew is an organic prebiotic fiber, the kind of fiber that has been studied to really show that it supports the gut microbiome. It's the kind of fiber, inulin fiber, that our gut microbiome evolved on over all the course of human history, which many of the fibers on the market are not that. They're synthetic, or they're dextrins, or they're things that our gut microbiome really has not, used as its normal food source. In fact, the biggest selling soluble fiber on the market is a wheat or corn dextrin sold by one of the big pharma companies. So we use organic inulin fiber and a probiotic.
Metabucil or something like that?
That's an insoluble fiber. The largest selling soluble fiber is benefiber, and that's sold by GlaxoSmithKline. And it's either a wheat or a corn dextrin. I think they use both.
I don't want to use that shit because it's coming from, pesticide-ridden, fields and wheat, and that was genetically modified in 72. We don't want any of that stuff. What people want, I want fucking Good Brew. Good Brew is phenomenal, people. I'm telling you. Great.
Yeah, it works. So when you use Good Brew, make sure you start with a very small amount. People ask that too. We have many people who only use 1 scoop a day, but a lot of people start with less than 1 scoop, and some people don't even ever use 1 scoop. And it's kind of interesting how people really find what works for them. So don't try. Not more is not necessarily better. What works for you is what's good. I use 2 scoops a day, but I think Josh
only do 1.
I think Josh uses 1. So,
yep,
and that's a lot of people. That's a lot of people.
I'll tell people this. I want to tell these people this. I only use 1 scoop. I've done 2 scoops in my coffee in the morning, and I will tell you, it goes. But it's just moving stuff around. It's getting things happening. Your gut bacteria is like, I love it in here. We're having a party, yay! Right. So, but at 1 scoop, it's phenomenal. And guys, I have really good gut health. You wouldn't know it by looking at me, but I have really good gut health, and it's because of this guy. Before that, I'm not going to tell you my daily or how many times I went and stuff like that. But now, it's phenomenal.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. We get these tests. I got a testimony. I'll try to, if we get to it, I'll read that one too. But so we have a probiotic. Now people are really been kind of misled to what probiotics are, because there's such a big market out there for them. And there's most of the probiotics that are sold in capsule form would be what would be classified as colonizing microbes, and they do not survive through the stomach. And if you see, the research after research shows this. If you take these in capsule form, very few of them get through the stomach, and that's why they put billions and billions of them in these capsules, is to try to get some of them to survive. But also in the capsule, there's not enough room for the prebiotic fiber. So you're getting a probiotic that's not going to survive through the stomach and the stomach acid, and B, you're not getting an amount of prebiotic fiber to really support that probiotic. And if you see the probiotics in refrigerators and that sort of thing, that should tell you that it's very hard for them to survive. Now, if you do take those and you find some of them that maybe do help somewhat, GOODBRU is only going to support that. It's going to be supportive of any other probiotic that you are using. But there's another class of probiotic, and they're transitory probiotics. And these are like how Mother Nature really supported our gut, is in combination with these prebiotics, the fibers and resistant starches and these sorts of things, and a transitory probiotic. And that's what we use. We use Bacillus coagulans. And Bacillus coagulans is a spore found out in nature. It doesn't colonize the gut. What it does is if we were out digging up things from the soil, we would get Bacillus coagulans, and it would survive perfectly fine through the stomach, and then it would germinate in the lower intestine. And when it germinates in the lower intestine, it's like the best friend of all these colonizing microbes that you have. And the keystone microbes you might hear about are lactobacillus and bifidobacteria. And when you have good amounts of lactobacillus and bifidobacteria, which you get from your mothers at birth, not from a capsule, that helps to support all these other good microbes in the stomach and create what's called homeostasis. And when we're in dysbiosis, the opposite of homeostasis, we have an overabundance of these microbes that can do a lot of damage if they're in overabundance. Now, what's interesting is many of those microbes that we don't want in overabundance actually do play a very important role in our gut, in our overall health, our immune system, for example. But they need to be sequestered, and they need to be in lower amounts versus the lactobacillus and bifidobacteria and Akkermansia and all these other good ones. So Bacillus coagulans is like Mother Nature's way of really supporting these good ones, so that we get in homeostasis. So the probiotic that we use has got over 25 clinical studies behind it to survive through the stomach and to do things like increase nutrient absorption, protein absorption by up to 20%. Which people think about. It's been shown to help with muscle recovery and lower inflammation in that way. But people also need to understand that's an indication of better protein utilization overall, because the microbiome breaks these proteins down and also converts other things like sugars into amino acids. And they have to be converted into amino acids and peptides in order for our bodies to use them. And that's very important for the immune system, not just muscles and skeleton and skeletal system and all of that kind of thing, but also mineral absorption, calcium absorption, and it's the short chain fatty acids, better gut lining. The gut lining is something that's been under attack by all the pesticides and antibiotics and all these other things. And it's the short chain fatty acids that are produced by the gut microbiome. This is one of those things that our body doesn't do, but the microbiome does. The short chain fatty acids produce these essential source of energy for the cells throughout the digestive system, that then creates a healthy gut lining, which then protects us from things leaking out of the gut, which is related to all these inflammatory diseases, including dementia, but all arthritis and everything else. So it's this combination of probiotic and that survives through the stomach and this inulin fiber that really feeds the microbiome, and they work together for all these very important benefits to our health. And very specific things too. Like we have things that it's really helped a lot of people, from just testimonials, with acid reflux and GERD and chronic constipation. So very immediate things, but then also longer term health benefits as well. And we have some elite athletes that are using the product now with good results. So it's all across the board. And I mean, we go on and on. Every show we have something a little different to talk about.
Yeah, more and more, but it's a continuous topic. For everybody out there, if you're looking to get into GOODBRU and you just want to try it out, go to goodbrew.com/redpill, and you can use that code at redpill at checkout as well. GOODBRU is spelled GOODBRU. lifewave.com/redpill. And that's up on the screen right there. And I did put it out in the chats for everybody to get that link there. And so and I don't have the link anymore in my copy, but that's okay. But so if you want to check it out, the link is over there in the chat. It is in the description as well of the show. Gabe, I appreciate you coming on, brother. We'll see you probably next week.
Sounds great, Josh. Thanks. You take care.
Take care, brother. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, you saw that right there. Good Brew. Go check them out over there, GOODBRU.com/redpill. And look, we don't have very many sponsors that sponsor this show or help us out and help us keep afloat and stay alive. And so Gabe is one of those that came on very, very early and has been amazing help to the Red Pill projects. And I'm getting him out there to other shows and other platforms, which I'm happy about. But if you go to redpills.tv, after you go over to GOODBRU, you go to redpills.tv and you go to that sponsors tab at the top, you're going to see all of our sponsors. And look, there's 7, and one of them is me. There's 7, and one of them's me. So you got Lifewave, your X39 patches. I met a whole bunch of people this weekend that are wearing the X39 patches. Fantastic. We got Marty that's going to be joining us. He doesn't even know. But Marty's probably going to be joining us when we get back after the camping trip. And he's going to give his testimonial. This man is down like almost 50 pounds just after getting Lifewave and the X39 patch. Phenomenal. And drinking the Lifewave water, which the system is now available. So you can go over to that link right there and you can find the water system and purchase that. Soft disclosure, hydrate your elbows, moisturize your soul, people. Fantastic. We got immune modulating mushrooms right there. That is Pet Club. Pet Club. What an amazing company, guys. Pet Club. Fantastic right there. So you can get the immune modulating mushrooms. And every time I see somebody who's sick or suffering, I just want to go over there and give them a bottle of these mushrooms. So I wish I had them with me because they are phenomenal for your immune system. They're phenomenal for your skin, your longevity, and your health. And get that longevity package going over there. Good Brew, as you see right there. And then Mike Lindell running for governor of Minnesota. We're right there with my pill. That's all we have. So if you guys can get on over there, take a look at those sponsors, our little market shop that we have, and help support everything that we do. And there's ways on that website as well to support us, but I'm not going to ask you that. Go support our sponsors tonight. That's what's appreciated. Now, going in here, President Trump says he is unfazed by Iran levering the Strait of Hormuz chaos to harm Republicans in the midterms. They won't have any impact on me. It's going to do the right thing. I don't view it as, gee, we're having an election in this period of time. What a man. I mean, that's pretty awesome to say. He's basically saying is, I don't care how you think it's going to affect us. This is it's a war. It needs to get done. And I find that this is more important. That's what he's saying here. I saw a few people asking about Lifewave. A lot of people put their testimonies out there that it fixed their back. But some people are asking, hey, where do I find Lifewave? And it's right there, life.redpills.tv. Life.redpills.tv if you wanted to check that out. So I thought I'd put that up there just real quick so people can go on over there. So classified technologies, remember, I love this. This is Pete Hegseth, and I want you to listen to what Pete Hegseth says. So last week, I think it was on DEF CON 0, Alpha and myself had a conversation talking about Pickaxe Mountain. And I want you to listen to what Pete Hegseth says right here.
We need straight answers. We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
All right. Now that's really important what Pete Hegseth just said there. Because last week when Alpha Warrior and myself were talking about this, one of the things that I was talking about is Trump is talking that he wants to take out Pickaxe Mountain. Actually, Trump came out today and stated that we're going to be hitting Pickaxe Mountain relatively soon. And now you have Pete Hegseth being asked the question, do we have anything that can hit Pickaxe Mountain? Traditional ordnance that you've heard of? No, cannot do it, right? So traditional ordnance, bunker busters, what they use on Ferdome and all of these would not be able to penetrate 10 miles down and take out Pickaxe Mountain. But there is a technology, and Hegseth says it here.
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
Now, he says at the end, options and trade-offs. What is he talking about there with trade-offs? This is another key point. So Matt Van Swol the other day posted this, and not calling out Matt or anything like that, but he makes a very, very valid point that a lot of people are wondering. He says, I'm confused. The USA has the most powerful military on earth. We bombed the hell out of Iran for 4 months. Trump says their Air Force, Navy are all nearly, and all their missile capabilities are destroyed. So how is Iran still capable of hitting U.S. bases right now? The reason the U.S. is able and capable of hitting U.S. bases right now is because Iran has been preparing for this for 47 fucking years, and they have a massive inventory within their armory. And you can't get to all of their places because they're massively decentralized, like Pickaxe Mountain. What I say, here's the key that you have to understand. This is a proxy war. One country has used the Iran war as a calibration ground for their technology against the United States. That country is China. What do I mean by that? The majority of the technology on the ground that is being utilized by Iran is Chinese technology. The ballistic missile technology, the guidance systems, these are guided by satellites. Well, who owns the satellites? It's Russia and China, people. And how are these missiles being guided? They're being guided by Chinese military. This is a proxy war, very similar to what was happening in Ukraine and Russia with the U.S. during the Biden administration. And so China is utilizing this opportunity to basically calibrate their systems against conventional U.S. weapons. So when you go back to what Hegseth just said, it's about options and trade-offs. Those trade-offs he's talking about is the unveiling of new weaponry that is beyond conventional. That isn't a 5,000-pound bunker buster that's going to go down 5 miles and destroy a nuclear facility, but can't go 10 miles into a completely iron core mountain and destroy anything. So how would we do this? There's certain weapons that they have. My guess is some Star Wars defense weapons, the SDF that they had back in the Reagan days. There are some 1989 weapons technology sitting up in satellites in the sky right now that they could just hover over Iran on Pickaxe Mountain. They could drop 1 or 2 of these things, and they will shatter down into that mountain and explode that mountain with the force of a nuclear blast. And it's not a nuclear weapon. If someone says rods of God, they're absolutely right. I think that this is what Hegseth is hinting towards. Would it be directed energy weapons? Probably not. But I believe that if they use a rod of God technology like that, a nickel cadmium, basically a telephone pole, you know how big a telephone pole is, made out of nickel and cadmium, that's dropped from low Earth orbit, reaches critical velocity, hits the Earth with an impact radius of, I think it expands like 4 to 5 times its normal size, and hits with a 50 megaton nuclear warhead. That is what would happen. And imagine that slamming into the top of the mountain at Pickaxe. That thing would travel all the way down and just blow up everything on the way up. So potentially we could see a rod of God utilized in conventional warfare, in modern warfare. That would be pretty cool. But I also think that that would end the war really fast. I think that war would be over right after that. I think that would be it. Iran says diplomatic exchanges with the U.S. are ongoing via mediators. Now, this is important. Trump had Lebanon's president in Washington today. He said the Abraham Accords have, I think, been a tremendous success. I think you're going to see a lot of countries joining pretty soon. As you know, we have our original group, and it's so successful for them. I think Lebanon has a very important place. So you have Lebanon potentially joining the Abraham Accords, which, by the way, nullifies, Israel from bombing the shit out of them. And I said this on my post. What if there was all of a sudden a radical shift in Iran? And they all of a sudden came back to the negotiating table, upheld the ceasefire, and radically shifted their stance towards the United States. I wonder what that would look like. Maybe a rod of God hammering into Pickaxe Mountain, taking out their primary supply chain for ballistic missiles and launchers, as well as their primary command and control centers for the IRGC. I think it'd be over after that. Just a lucky, just a guess. That's all I'm saying. Now, Trump had Lebanon in D.C. today. He said that the Israeli army is in the process of withdrawing from Lebanon, and they're going to redeploy their troops to other sections. Now, Israel came out today and they said this. At this point, they have no interest in directly joining the United States in the war against Iran and will observe from the sidelines. For anybody out there who thinks that Israel, pushed Donald Trump in the war, you're a fucking idiot. You're not watching or seeing what's happening. Israel has absolutely been sidelined by Donald Trump on what's happening in the Middle East. They are withdrawing from Lebanon, which was basically their safe face within the Middle East after Trump basically pushed them out of the Iran conflict. Now they're getting pushed out of Lebanon. Trump has handled Bibi Netanyahu. Now, today, Trump came out and Benjamin Netanyahu will not be arrested in any way, shape, or form while in the United States of America. I love that how he says in the United States of America. He's talking about Mamdani, who said he was going to arrest Benjamin Netanyahu because of the ICC, International Criminal Court, indictment against him. So if you go back to last week, Benjamin Netanyahu had a planned trip to come to Lindsey Graham's funeral. That trip has been canceled, and Benjamin Netanyahu blamed this on security concerns of being arrested by Mamdani. But in other words, he was actually coming here to meet Trump. Trump hasn't taken his phone calls, and Trump denied him a meeting. So he canceled his trip. In other words, Israel has been sidelined and has been limited massively by the Trump administration. I think that's really important because we knew that Israel was going to be safe for last, and that was rug pulling their power positions and their power trips in the Middle East. And we're seeing that over and over and over again. When was the last time you heard about Gaza? Exactly. Congressman Kat McCormick, as much as I love her, she is introduced a resolution 500 to require background checks for every House staffer, no exceptions, no excuses. Love this. Love this. This comes after allegations that they were talking about how a former congressman introduced staffers to other offices that worked in those offices who were actually spies for the country of Qatar. Now, I did come out and say, hey, we're going to call out Qatar. Can we also call out Israel, China, and other special interests that pack their spies inside Congress as staffers? Yes, absolutely. That's exactly what we're talking about. So the background checks would absolutely do that. So I think some people misunderstood what I was talking about there. I was just talking in a generalized format. But yes, we need the background checks for staffers. We also need background checks for congressmen. That should be public, by the way. Pete Hegseth today, if we do not make critical investment right now in tech and compute, in AI, and autonomy, in space, our adversaries who are already making these types of investments could outpace us. And I said, we are winning by a thin margin right now. But the tables could turn very easily. The U.S. must lead the way in global tech innovations. I'm on a podcast tomorrow night, Space Revolution, with General Stephen Quast. Tomorrow night is part 2 of a conversation that he's having with one of the Space Built employees, Chris Ponder. I've been talking with Chris over the last few days, and if you've ever had two people of high intelligence have a conversation at high level information science and physics, that's kind of what it sounded like. It was a really good conversation. But him and I are going on the show tomorrow to talk about some things that they're developing and a few different models that Chris has designed specifically for kind of the upper data requirements of what AI is going to need down the road. So I highly urge you tomorrow, join us for Space Revolution live tomorrow night on Badlands. It's going to be a phenomenal show. But this is the key here. The war that is going on right now in our world is about technological innovation. It's about advancing humanity, 500 years of advancement exponentially in the next 20 years. It's about who leads this world into the 21st century, China or the United States. Excuse me, because it's obviously not the fucking globalists. The beautiful thing about all this is the globalists have been basically destroyed. Their global institutions have been minimized. Their money has been pulled out of the system. Their organizations are being dismantled from the infrastructure, at least inside the United States of America. Their plots and ploys to steal elections has been completely thrown down and under the ground and shown to the world. So China becomes the next big component. Yes, we are in a silent war technologically with China for the development of quantum computing and artificial superintelligence. I don't even think it's about artificial superintelligence anymore. It's about functional room temperature quantum computers. I'll say that again. functional room temperature quantum computers. That's kind of the race right now that's happening. Now, Trump today announced they are overhauling federal science funding by directing roughly $200 billion annual research budget away from traditional university grants and towards artificial intelligence and individual scientists, per the Wall Street Journal. That's huge. They are pulling $200 billion of grant money away from universities. Ouch. Sucks to be a lot of those universities. Oh, I love it. So if you remember, part of this technology is the Genesis mission. The Genesis mission is an artificial intelligence that operates within the infrastructure of the United States military and United States government. It's integrated throughout the national laboratories and Department of Energy. And basically all scientific research that's happened over the last 50 years, every paper that you could ever imagine, has been published by the national laboratories, by the Department of Energy, by all the scientific departments and all the branches, is being pumped into an AI. As well as, I believe, some black budget project research pumped into that AI. And you got 20 to 40,000 scientists that are going to basically innovate off of this AI. It's called the Genesis mission. And I said within that, you're going to see you begin to see the release of a lot of this research and technology. But the thing that you have to do is build a foundation. And that starts with UAP and UFO disclosure. And I talked about the 3 different phases that are going to occur within this structure of disclosure. Now, if you remember, within one of those tiers of those phases was one of the things that I talked about. Now, I'm going to actually pull this up real quick because I do want to talk about this. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's okay. One of the things that I did talk about was that SAP programs would be revealed, but they would be doing it indirectly. They basically have plausible deniability for the military, and that the insurances that those who hid this and kept it secret and broke the law over the last 60 years were not criminally liable. That is absolutely happening right now. But what Trump did today was very, very specific. And it was one of the points along the way that I said we have to watch out for, because this marks a transition into the next tier. And that's today, Trump orders agencies to waive non-disclosure agreements for UFO witnesses cooperating with the feds. In other words, if you worked in special access programs and you want to come forth and blow the whistle, you are no longer burdened by your non-disclosure agreement. This is huge. This is where the technology part, reverse engineering of alien craft part, starts to come about. This is where you start hearing the real juicy shit is right now. So fantastic about that. Great move, President Trump, on that one. I'm excited to see what happens next with that. I think that we have a massive... we're going to have a massive tranche of information coming out by the end of August. And you got to remember, I called the last tranche of information to the fucking day. And I am telling you right now that it's probably going to be July 31st. It's either going to be July 24th or July 31st, but I think it's July 31st that you're going to see the next tranche of documents, which each time they're going to get more and more intricate and more real and more revealing, because they're building a foundation of disclosure. So keep that in mind. Guys, I am out of here. I'm heading over to the DEF CON 0. Everybody in Rumble, I'm going to put you over there through a raid. Everybody else, I hope to see you over there. If I don't see you over there, I'll see you tomorrow. And tomorrow, busy day. I got Space Revolution live, and then we're going into the OG show. Daily Dose will probably be earlier. I'm going to try to record it during the day. So keep an eye out for all of that information, guys. But, man, what a hell of a show. That was a good show, guys. Someone said, I hope Josh brings his A game tonight. I hope he's on the money tonight. I think I was on the money tonight. We didn't really go too in-depth, but we went in-depth. So much love, respect, guys. Take care. Have a great night. I'll see many of you guys on DEF CON 0 after the show. Everybody else, I'll see you tomorrow. Good night.
There was a time when our children stood tall, hand on their hearts, one voice for all. There was a time when honor had weight, when the flag was a symbol, not a debate. There was a time when our when the media served, not ruled by fear. There was a time when leaders stood fast, guarding the people, defending the past. Now corruption wears a crown, lies are fed to tear us down. But Q said watch, and Q said see, the silent war will set us free. From the front lines, soldiers stare, wondering if we're still there. Their blood, their hope, their sacrifice will not be sold for a last prize. There was a time, but the time isn't near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, the veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on. Or we will spend our sunset years telling our children what it was once like in the United States where men were free.
There was a time, the time is near. The great awakening is here. Dark to light, veil undone. Patriots rise, we are one. Land of the free, home of the brave. No more silence, no more slaves. Answer the call, take back the fight. Children of freedom, stand for the light. There was a time, there was a time, now is the time. Do it.
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. The air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation. I want you to get mad.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
The more you fuck around, the more you're gonna find out.
These people are still a part of that system, and that makes them our enemy.
We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not gonna take this anymore!